Hello everyone, this is Colleen Lemma, Starseed Astrologer and Spiritual Messenger from SacredSoulEmpowerment.com. Here to do your monthly intuitive reading for November 2020. For this month's monthly intuitive reading, we'll be using the Sirian StarSeed Tarot by Patricia Corey and Alyssa Bartha for the main message for everyone. And your special message card this month, depending on your stone of choice, will be coming from the Angels and Ancestors deck by Kyle Gray. So it's interesting that we're already in November 2020. The year, even though 2020 has been quite challenging, for some of us it may have felt like it flew by and we're just wondering how we're even nearing the end of 2020. And then for some others, or in other ways, it feels like it's just been dragging on because of some of the challenges that we've went through, the COVID experience that we're still immersed in, which I'm sure most of us never thought that we would still be experiencing. Let's go ahead and talk about the energy vibration of November 2020. Actually, let's look at your stones of choice first before I forget. So your first stone of choice is this beautiful rose quartz. This is a palm stone because it fits nicely in the palm of your hand. You can actually meditate with it. And rose quartz, of course, we know relates to the heart chakra, right? So this is a stone of universal love and unconditional love. This is a stone that helps to restore trust and harmony in relationships. It helps to purify and open up one's heart chakra, and of course helps with emotional healing. All right, our second stone of choice is this beautiful celestite cluster. Now, celestite, you can see, is a throat chakra stone, right? It's almost that turquoisey light blue color. So now we're relating to our sense of authentic, open, honest communication. This helps to connect one to the cosmic forces of the universe, helps to promote higher spiritual awareness, and helps in seeking divine guidance, healing, and protection. And then our last stone of choice is bloodstone. This is actually a little massage tool here. So bloodstone, of course, we have the green of the heart chakra and we have the red that relates to our root chakra. So we're back to the kind of cleansing purification of heart chakra and the grounding sense of security, stability of that root chakra. This is a powerful healing stone, both physically and emotionally. It helps to heighten one's intuition. It helps to increase our creativity. And it helps again with both grounding us as well as protecting us. So again, our stones of choice are the rose quartz, the celestite, and the bloodstone. Okay, now let's go into the month of November and the numerological vibration, the energy over all of it. So if we look at the single digit vibration of the month of November, it's actually the number 6. And how we get that is we add the universal year vibration of 2020 by adding those digits together. We add that to the number 11 because November is the 11th month. And if we add 11 plus that 4 universal year vibration, we get the number 15. And then we're going to add the 1 plus the 5 and reduce that down to the number 6. Now, that single vibration of a 6, usually that's about peace and calm and balance. And we look at that as balancing the divine masculine and the divine feminine energies on the planet. If you think about the geometric shape for the number 6, it would be an upward pointing triangle intersected with a downward pointing triangle and making this Star of David pattern, this kind of third dimensional Merkaba or Star of David pattern. So again, it's as above, so below. As it is up in the higher dimensional realm, so it is manifested on the earth plane. And again, this balance of our inner world, our inner self, with the outer world and who we are out otherwise, in our career, our life path, our destiny path. So we're balancing a lot of energies. And the balance of the divine feminine, the divine masculine. The divine feminine is allowing, receptive, intuitive, unconditional love, compassion, peace. And it just has this sense of trust and faith as things unfold. And they're just one of these go with the flow kind of energies with the feminine. Now the divine masculine, the positive of the masculine is take charge, leadership, make a change, take an action, forward movement, initiate. So it's very action oriented in a positive way. And I think the month of November is going to be balancing those two energies within ourselves as well as within the collective of humanity. The number 6 numerologically also deals with home and family matters. And so we might find that things having to do with our living situation, our actual home, our land, as well as family, children, marriage, all of these things may indeed be highlighted for the month of November. I often see that when someone is in a 6 yearly vibration, just as if they were in a 6 monthly vibration, just like this universal month of November is for everyone, sometimes it brings to me success and recognition on a career level. So just kind of make a little side note in your brain that if you're working on plans in your career or changing careers or projects, things of that nature, this can actually be the start of finally being appreciated or recognized or being able to be more successful in that area. Now, if we were to look at the number 15 as a whole, which is what the number vibration is before we reduce it down, the number 15 is not a karmic number like the last 2 months. September was karmic number 13 vibration, which relates to the death card, death and rebirth. October was karmic number 14 vibration, which relates to the temperance card, which is about doing things in moderation, staying balanced, having a little bit of patience. The number 15 is not karmic. However, it does relate to a tarot card. So what tarot card does that that number 15 relate to? It actually relates to, in the Sirian StarSeed Tarot, the shadow card. In the traditional tarot, this is the devil card. Now, that's not to scare, anyone or, put negativity out there. But if you think about what the shadow is, we all have a shadow side to our ego, our psyche. This is where our fears are. This is where our doubts are, our concerns, our anxieties. And that's what the shadow card or the devil card is all about, is bringing up those fears, which are usually, most likely, just an illusion, right? We have actually here a spider web in this card, and we have 2 figures in the background near the spider web that are shadowed. It's almost like they're in a dark cave. And if you think about the symbology of being in a dark cave and walking in the shadows of that dark cave, you can't see everything in its truth or in its reality. And sometimes when we can't see and we're in the dark, we have some fears. Just like if you were living in a cabin in the middle of nowhere and you heard a noise outside and you went outside to investigate it, you're going to be in the dark and maybe have a little bit of anxiety or a little bit of fears about what's out there, what made that noise. And so it's the same with this card, the shadow. We're in this dark cave, if you will, and sometimes that dark cave can be symbolic of our own psyche, our own mind, our own thoughts, our own belief systems, our perceptions. And it is bringing us, into a place of doubts and anxieties. And here these 2 figures are walking into a spider web, which they probably can't see because they're in a dark cave. And it can be sticky, and it can be like, oh my gosh, what is that? What did I just walk into? So November might have that feeling of bringing up the shadow side of not just us as individuals and our own individual fears and anxieties, but also of the collective. Now, I don't know about any other countries in the world, but here in the United States, and I know I have other people that are watching and listening to the video that are outside of the United States, but we have our election here in November, on November 3rd. So this is probably bringing up a lot of doubts, fears, and anxieties on a collective level, at least here in the United States. And I think that is a part of it. Now remember that the shadow is not necessarily reality, right? This is our projected fears. And so all we need to do is shed light on those fears. We're also in Scorpio season, right? Scorpio is that sign of the zodiac that deals with the deep subconscious, the fears of the psyche, or things that are hidden and not easily seen, which sometimes brings us anxiety and concern, doubts. So, you know, the Scorpio energy and the fact of where we're at in this particular year of 2020, and the fact that November is vibrating to the number 15, which vibrates to this shadow or devil card, is not surprising given what we've been through and what we're kind of immersing ourselves in the next few days, the next month, and as far as wondering what is the future of our country, or what is the future of the world? What's the future that we have to look forward to as a collective, and all of these unknowns? And so don't get caught up in the fears, don't get caught up in the illusions, the doubts, the anxieties, because really, even though we might think something is apparent or something has manifested on this earth plane, it doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. It doesn't mean that it is fated as our reality, so to speak, for the next few weeks or the next few years. So realize that things can change because energies are always changing. We're always making different decisions as individuals, as a collective, and we're able to use our free will to shift things. We're able to use our mind to shift things. And again, there's nothing set in stone. Even though it appears that things are set in stone, at least for a time period, it doesn't mean that they have to be. And so I'm wondering if that's going to be the case here as we move throughout the rest of 2020 and into the new vibration, the new universal year vibration of 2021. So let's go ahead and talk about the astrology of November. And this is going to be about the highlights, right? Every week, if you follow me, I always give more of the astrological happenings week to week. So we're going to just hit the highlights of November. And we start out on the 1st of November with Mercury, the planet that rules the mind, our thoughts, our ideas, our perceptions, our belief systems, our communications. And it's in a challenging aspect to Saturn. Saturn's considered the lord of karma, or the teacher of lessons. He rules limitations, restrictions, and delays. He also rules responsibility and structure and form, or restructuring one's life. Now, this is a challenging connection between the two. And the reason why I bring this particular aspect up is because it's going to happen again on November 6th. And the reason why that's happening is because Mercury is finishing its retrograde motion right now. So in fact, Mercury already connected with Saturn in this challenging way. And that was back on, I'm trying to see my own writing here, that was back on September 28th. So on September 28th, Mercury challenged Saturn, if you can think back that long. That was just a little over a month ago. What is Mercury challenging Saturn, or square Saturn, all about? Mental frustrations, feeling limited with our ability to conceptualize or initiate ideas, challenging communications with other people as well as within our own self, feelings of doubt or insecurity on that mental level. And so again, if you think back to the end of September, there was a lot going on in September. We had this connection for the first time between these two, Mercury in Libra and challenging Saturn in Capricorn. Now on November 1st, a couple days before our election here in the US, we have Mercury squaring Saturn once again, because Mercury is technically on November 1st in its retrograde motion. It's starting to slow down and station at 26 degrees of Libra once it finally stations. So we might feel that frustration coming back. We might feel that insecurity coming back. We might feel those challenges in communication with other people, especially with authority figures or within our career path perhaps, coming back. And then on the 3rd, on November 3rd, Mercury turns back to direct motion at 26 degrees Libra. And then on November 6th, as it's moving forward very slowly, it challenges or squares Saturn for the third and last time. So there's been a lot of this frustration energy, insecurity and doubts and fears, as Saturn rules those things, coming back up, kind of being brought back up into our mind, our perceptions, okay? And then on the 10th of November, Mercury is now moving out of Libra and into the sign of Scorpio, where it was when it first went retrograde. So Mercury moving back into Scorpio is going to be very deeply perceptive. It's seeing beneath the energy of things. It's seeing into the shadow of things, whether it be the shadow of your own psyche, the shadow of the collective energy and what's going on in the collective. So we're able to perceive more deeply and attune more deeply, be more psychically connected or telepathic in a way with other people and with things that are going on around us. Now, Mercury, as I said, went retrograde in Scorpio a few weeks ago. It's actually going to still be in its shadow until November 20th. And so until November 20th and after, we are winding up or wrapping up the details, the experiences, the situations, the fears, the unearthing of what's underneath and what's hidden. We're doing all that for the next few days here until Mercury moves out of its shadow. So whatever started back at the end of September can now kind of come to a completion of some sort as far as on the mental realm with communications and with our thoughts and ideas and perceptions by that time. Now, another interesting thing that happens is November 12th, which we're already feeling as we even enter November. But on November 12th, Jupiter is connecting to Pluto. Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio. So Pluto has that same kind of feel as Scorpio, where it's about death and rebirth, power and control, transformation, regeneration, transmutation. It's about the deep recesses of our psyche and psychological patterns, things that are hidden underneath the surface, both within and on a collective level. Pluto, to me, sometimes feels like a volcano where you don't know what's going on in the depth of that volcano. There's things bubbling up. There's the magma that's kind of bubbling up and kind of trying to, starting to maybe build its momentum or build its intensity, but we don't really see what's going on inside the volcano until finally that volcano kind of spews out its magma or has that kind of eruption, as you will. Pluto is the same. Pluto can be about eruption of some sort, eruptions of the shadow side of the psyche, eruptions on a collective level of what's been hidden in the shadows. And Jupiter, which connects with Pluto on the 12th, Jupiter is the planet of our belief systems, for one, and it's the planet of expansion. Okay, so Pluto and Jupiter is going to expand that Plutonian energy. It's going to expand the death and rebirth, the transformation. It's going to expand what lies hidden underneath in the shadows and the eruption that happens. It's going to magnify and intensify that Plutonian energy. Pluto, remember, the highest level of Pluto, or Scorpio really, which Pluto rules, that highest level of Scorpio is the Phoenix. So we have the Scorpion, which stings with its deadly stinger, right, which we don't want to meet in the desert, basically, or anywhere. And then we have the eagle as the middle of the road of Scorpio, and then we have the Phoenix. So Jupiter is expanding the potential of us to rise again, to empower ourselves. Pluto is about power and control, but it's also about empowerment against any person, place, thing, situation, emotion, feeling, belief system, or pattern that is disempowering us. So now Jupiter is helping us to expand into our power, but it can also expand us into perhaps disempowerment, or it's going to give rise to and expand power and control issues within people or groups or within the collective. Jupiter also being about our belief systems and Pluto being about power and control, you might see a wave of that increasing again. Now, we've already had Jupiter as well connecting with Pluto twice before. I didn't write down the dates on that, but over time, since the early part of 2020, Jupiter connected with Pluto once and then went retrograde, connected with it twice, and now this is the third and final time that Jupiter is connecting to Pluto. And if you think about what's been happening on a collective level in 2020 with the judgments, right, between different religious groups or cultures, Some of the social unrest that's been going on between races, that's all the Jupiter-Pluto stuff. And again, we're not just feeling it on the 12th of November, just as we didn't feel it on just the specific dates that it hit the first and second time, but it's been this kind of ongoing rise and ebb and flow of the energies. So we're feeling it this whole month of November, at least the first half of November, and probably even thereafter. But even before, into the second half of October, as those two planets were coming closer together, we started to feel that rise again or intensify or expand. On the 13th, the very next day, Mars the warrior is going back to direct motion at 15 degrees of Aries. Now, Mars is the warrior planet. He rules energy, action, forward movement. He's the god of war, right? So he likes to assert himself. And he's in his home sign of Aries. He went into Aries some weeks ago, and he's really at home in Aries, and he really wants to get up and go full steam ahead. But then he went retrograde some weeks ago, and that pulled back our energies from being able to move forward in the way or in the timing that Mars and Aries wanted to move forward. So it kind of stalled us a little bit or slowed us down a little bit. I don't know that it really stalled us completely, but it definitely slowed us down in forward movement and the unfolding of events during that time. And now that it's slowing down to station and turn back to direct motion on the 13th of November, we're going to feel physically stalled. We might even feel physically depleted of our own physical energy, because Mars does rule our physical energy and vitality. So with it coming to a stop and stationing, we might feel physically depleted. We might feel frustrated because that energy starts to build up within our physical bodies, right? So there's a frustration that's building up, especially because Mars is in its home sign of Aries, sign of the individual, sign of independence, sign of taking charge, sign of the leadership. And now that it's turning back to direct motion, we'll be able to slowly thereafter, that date, to be able to move forward, to be able to put our plans into action. But it's going to take a little while. It's going to take maybe even a few weeks, because for the rest of this month of November, with the slow movement of Mars, it's only going to move from 15 degrees to not quite 17 degrees. It's not even moving 2 full degrees in the last 2 weeks of November. So it'll start to pick up speed in the month of December. And so we'll start to see more forward movement and more things happening more quickly as we move into December. But for right now, we have to have just a little bit of patience, but know as that shift of direction takes place on the 13th, we'll be able to start feeling our energies and movement freeing up a little bit, which is going to be great. On the 14th and 15th of November, depending on what part of the world you're in, what time zone, we have a new moon in Scorpio. It's at 23 degrees of Scorpio. So, new moons are about new beginnings. This is on the level of our emotions, the level of our psyche, the level of also other people's money, other people's resources. This is all these things that Scorpio rules, right? What does Scorpio rule? Death and rebirth, transformation and change, deep emotional, intense experiences, clairsentience and other forms of intuition, and abilities to unearth what's hidden, do research. It also rules other people's money, other people's values, other people's resources. So all of these things we may see a new beginning or initiation in. So it's not really an action-oriented sign. It's actually a feminine sign. So it's more of that kind of go with the flow, kind of thing. It's more of that being patient and allowing and just being receptive, just like we have to be receptive for transformation to take place. We have to allow transitions in our life to happen. We have to, now we do have to, I want to say too, Scorpio is about taking our power back. So this new moon in Scorpio might be a new beginning as far as empowering ourselves again. And the empowering ourselves again may be within a situation or relationship or a circumstance, but it may start first within our own mind, our own psyche. It may start first with transforming or transmuting old subconscious patterns, which is what Scorpio rules. And then slowly, as we transform those subconscious patterns, we're able to take our power back from the emotion, the feeling, the thought, the belief system, the perception, the energy, the past life, the karma that it is related to. So it's really, a time to birth your new sense of empowerment, your new empowered self. On the 17th of November, Mercury is opposing Uranus. There's a lot going on with Mercury this month. And normally I wouldn't bring this up either as a highlight for the month to talk about, but Mercury opposed Uranus also 2 times before because of its retrograde motion. So on October 7th, Mercury opposed Uranus. Mercury was in Scorpio at that time. And then Mercury went retrograde in Scorpio and opposed Uranus again actually it was still October. It was on the 20th. So on the 7th of October and the 20th of October, we had Mercury and Scorpio opposing Uranus. Now Uranus is the great awakener. Uranus is the rebel. Uranus wants freedom, change. He wants to rock the boat. He wants to shock people. He wants, he brings in this kind of sudden and unusual redirection or energy dynamic. And so with Mercury opposing Uranus, it probably brought shocking concepts or shocking perceptions, shocking communications, things that weren't expected. Like, oh, I didn't see that coming. What did that person just say? What did they just, do? And it's kind of, like that. If you can think back to what happened in October, around the 7th, around the 20th, and it could have been something personal with you and interactions with someone else, the communication, maybe within family, maybe within a romantic relationship, business relationship, but also on the collective level with communications between groups of people or within, government, politics, etc. Could have been something shocking happening. The other thing is that Mercury being in Scorpio, Scorpio is a money sign. Uranus is in Taurus. Taurus is also a money sign. They rule other people's money and my money, other people's values, my values, etc. So there could be something also unusual or unexpected happening around this time of the 17th of November that might relate to whatever was happening on October 7th and October 20th that has to do with money and finances. Could be a message comes in, unexpected money comes in, but it also could be unexpected money going out, in a way that we weren't expecting. So there might be something with that as well. Now on the 21st of November, Venus, the planet of love, relationships, money, and finances, she rules all of those things and values and our sense of self-worth, is moving into Scorpio, where she's going to be for the next few weeks, at least 3 weeks, maybe 3.5, 4 weeks. And Venus in Scorpio to me is the divine feminine empowering herself. Of course, there's a lot of other things that it relates to, right? Venus does rule money and finances, and Scorpio rules other people's money and resources. And so again, there might be a focus on money that is outside of you, coming from other sources, other people or other institutions, etc. And whether it's coming to you or you're, putting your money towards them, remains to be seen and depends on your own individual chart and what's really going on in your life. But there's going to be the divine feminine empowerment being highlighted, the relationships and more of an intensity in relationships, more of a magnetism. We can become more magnetic with Venus and Scorpio. So we're able to exude more of a mystery and magnetism. And there's more emotional depth within our relationships. Maybe there's heightened sexuality or sensuality in our relationships. There's just more of an intensity with Venus there in Scorpio. And the same day that Venus is moving into Scorpio, the 21st, the Sun is moving out of Scorpio and into Sagittarius. So we have a shift there with some Scorpio energy. The Sun has been in Scorpio, but on the 21st will move into Sagittarius, which should lighten things a little bit, although Mercury and Venus are now in Scorpio. The Sun moves into inspirational, happy-go-lucky, prosperous, abundant, sign of blessings, Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is fire, and it's mutable, so it's changeable, but it's excitable. It's, again, inspirational. It looks for higher thoughts, higher perceptions, higher wisdom, higher knowledge, higher education. You know, these are all the things that Sagittarius is about. It likes to expand its vision, expand its perception, expand its ideas, and really just kind of exaggerate into the most positive, optimistic viewpoint that it possibly can. So that's good and uplifting, since we have yet some Scorpio energies that are going on otherwise. And then on the 28th of November, Neptune, the planet of the spiritual realm, the planet that rules creative energies, romantic energies, spiritual energies, connections with our angels and guides and the other planes of reality, but also which rules illusion, confusion, delusion, addiction, things that are intangible. Those are all Neptunian energies. And Neptune is going to be turning to direct motion at 18 degrees of Pisces on that day. And because Neptune is so very slow moving, we're going to be feeling this all month. But the closer we get to the 28th of November, the more it's going to intensify those Neptunian energies, which means our meditations can be much deeper, our psychic perceptions may be increased, our dream time more active, our connection to our loved ones on the other side, or our guides and angels from other realms, that's also on the increase and intensified. But so is this idea of deception or illusion or confusion. The idea of things not being tangible or easily seen or understood. Neptune is much more, well, totally much more in the spiritual realm. It's not at all on the physical third dimensional reality. So we might feel not as grounded. This is where we can feel a little bit ungrounded, a little floaty. So even on a physical level, we might feel like we're a little woozy or lightheaded. So know that some of those things can definitely be the Neptune stopping its retrograde movement, stationing, and getting ready to turn direct as it intensifies all of its rulership energies. This leads us up to the last day of November, and probably the highlight of the month of November. On November 30th, we have a full moon in Gemini, but it's not just any old full moon. This is a full moon lunar eclipse, which means as we go into December, 2 weeks into December, we'll have a new moon solar eclipse. So we're entering an eclipse cycle here. So this full moon lunar eclipse on November 30th will happen at 8 degrees of Gemini. It's going to be connecting in a sextile to Chiron, the wounded healer and shaman, and in conjunct to Venus in Scorpio, again, Venus ruling love and relationships, finances, personal resources, etc. So what would this full moon be about? The full moons are about completion. Full moons bring an intensity and intensification of energies, and it's in the sign of Gemini, which is about information, messages, communication, perceptions, okay? So what I felt and what I got in my meditation about this was that throughout this month, we're feeling mentally held back or frustrated. We're feeling maybe a little confused, or like things are hidden, things are not made totally seen for the truth of the collective. You know, there's things hidden in the shadows still. There's maybe some power and control issues with all the Scorpio going on. And, you know, there's an intensity of, again, judgments with Jupiter, Pluto. So all of these things that we talked about already that are happening, I felt like with this full moon lunar eclipse in Gemini, that it was going to be the beginning of, because the eclipse energies last until the next set of eclipses, so this is going to be an ongoing thing for the weeks and even a few months ahead. Whatever these energy eclipses are going to initiate, we're going to feel for a while, and things are going to unfold. What I felt was going to unfold or be initiated, so to speak, or what was going to be intensified, was the idea of more information coming to us on a conscious level. Because Gemini is about conscious information. And it's about, again, like these day-to-day communications or messages or information that's made aware to us, that's being brought into our conscious awareness somehow. So I felt like things might start to be highlighted or exposed, things, that may have been in the shadows or in the darkness, may start to come to light, whatever that might be, on the collective level and maybe even on a personal level as well. And know that this is going to bring a lot of, I think, education to us. I guess that's the best way to kind of say that, is we're going to be educated, because Gemini rules education, right? So we're going to be educated on some things that maybe was previously hidden in the shadows from us. So let's go ahead and jump into the message from our angels and guides for the month of November. Now, I meditated, I pulled, meant to pull 3 cards, 4 cards kind of came out, fell out. Usually I'm shuffling a deck, and when I'm doing the weekly or the monthly, I just, cards just kind of fall out of the deck, and that's the message for us. So the first card that fell out, okay, we have the 5 of Orbs. This is like the 5 of Swords in the traditional tarot. The 5 of Swords or the 5 of Orbs, this is about confusion or chaos, excuse me, on the mental level. Within our mind, our perceptions, our thoughts, our communications, you can see that this person of Swords, of course, it's like a faceless person, right? They're juggling a bunch of balls. 2 of the balls have fallen onto the ground. They're trying to juggle these last 3 balls. And this person without a face, it's like they can't see the balls. There's like so much going on the mental level. They're not able to make heads or tails. They're not able to balance everything that's coming at them or that they're trying to do. So again, this has a lot to do with the day-to-day activities of our life. This has to do with these communications, these messages. It has to do with details as far as our thoughts and ideas and projects maybe that we're working on. But more so, excuse me, sorry, is there's a lot of dark clouds in the background. And as I coughed, my angels and guides told me to pay attention to that. So there's something about throat chakra energies here. This is about us communicating our own thoughts and our ideas. And, excuse me, we might feel challenged by that with the throat chakra. So we might feel challenged by not only our perceptions, but our ability to communicate it. And we might have challenging communications coming at us from other people or from other directions or situations. So know that, again, this to me feels like there's some chaos going on. There's some confusion. There's some frustrations, as indicated by these dark clouds in the background. Frustrations, lack of clarity on a mental body level that's happening. And with Mercury, and we talked about Mercury challenging Saturn and Mercury opposing Uranus, and Mercury rules that mental realm of thoughts, ideas, perceptions, and communications. So it's not so wonder that we had this card come out. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next card. The next card actually came out with this card, like 2 cards fell out. And so this card, interestingly enough, is another 5, but it's the 5 of Chalices. So this is like the 5 of Cups. This is also about confusion, but now it's on an emotional level. So we have confusion on a mental level and confusion on an emotional level here going on. Too much happening, too much going on. This sometimes is about feeling brokenhearted, feeling that things are confusing or chaotic or somehow fell apart. I don't understand what's going on or what's happening. This could be about relationship matters, but I also just feel like it's about situational matters. This could be a job, career, home, family. This could just be what we're going through on a deep psychological or subconscious level, that we're going through this confusion and illusion. We're going through this sadness, this despair or depression, and just, again, this emotional feeling of not knowing what to do next or where to turn next. You can see that this lovely young woman is sitting by a stream and 3 of the 5 cups has turned over and spilled. And she's very distraught about that. She's crying about that, right? Maybe depressed. But she's failed to notice, or she's ignoring the fact that 2 cups are still standing. So usually the symbology of this card means that we have to still be aware of what we're grateful and thankful for. We still have to be aware of and pay attention to the good things in our life, the good people in our life, the good situations in our life, what's happening that's still positive and good. That just because there's some things that are upsetting or some things that are confusing or that aren't making any sense doesn't mean that it's everything, right? There's still some emotional stability here if she actually lifts her head and looks for it, right? Because right now she's got her head buried in her hands and she's getting kind of caught up in the drama. She's getting, expanded into that drama energy or that negative energy, that catastrophic energy. So it's time to lift yourself up, empower yourself, look around and see, what can I be grateful and thankful for? What is still working? What is still clear in my life? The people that I love, the people that are supporting me. Maybe, you have a good job or career that's been supporting you. You have a house to live in. You have good neighbors. You have maybe a bank and a cushion of money in your account. Whatever it might be, look for the good things that you can be grateful and thankful for, and don't allow yourself to be pulled into all of the chaos and confusion, doubts, fears, negativity, and feelings of depression or anxiety or whatever's going on. Now let's go ahead and look at the second card, or really it's the third. Excuse me. Okay, so now we have the Seeker of Flames. This is like the Page of Wands in the traditional tarot. So pages are always about messages that we're seeking, messages that are given. Some of the messages may be from other people. Some of the messages might be from the spiritual realm. The flames or the rods is an element of the spiritual, right? The cups is the emotional. The earth or the pentacles are the physical. The orbs or the swords are the mental. And so the flames are the spiritual, the creative, the energetic, the fiery, the passion. So the Seeker of Flames here, if you look at the picture itself, to me it feels like we're seeking answers. We're seeking messages. We're looking for messages, okay? Now whether that be messages from others, guidance from others, information from others, or whether it be from the higher realms. What I feel like when I look at this though, if you look really closely here, this person is kind of on her knees, almost like she's praying to some sort of deity here, looking for those messages, guidance, information, guidance from outside of herself, okay? From some energy that it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, if you're praying to certain angels or ascended masters, or even if you're looking to authority figures to give you information or guidance, getting a reading would be one way of seeking information outside of yourself. But what I feel like here is that we need to seek answers within ourselves. We need to seek messages from a reliable source. And what's the most reliable source is spirit. And how do we connect to spirit is through our higher soul self. If we make that connection to our higher self, that part of us that is the universe, spirit, all that is, then the answers that we're seeking, the information that we're seeking, the guidance that we're seeking is going to come from within us and from the cosmos and from the heavens and from, that which is the highest vibration of love and light and truth and divinity. So I feel like whatever answers you're seeking from others, you might want to take pause and at least use discernment when you're getting that information and that guidance, okay? At least use discernment, if not connect more with your inner truth, your inner guide, your higher self, and seek the answers within. And then the last card that came out, okay, this is Major Arcana. Oh, number, I'm trying to see. Major Arcana, oh yes, 7, sorry. Major Arcana 7, the Chariot. Okay, so the Chariot card, usually there is a horse-drawn buggy of some sort with a person inside the carriage, or the chariot, if you will. Usually the traditional chariot has one black horse moving one way and one white horse moving the other way. This one has 5 horses, and I'll get to in a minute what is significant about that. But in the traditional chariot, when you have 2 horses and they're both pulling in opposite directions, when you have 2 horses pulling in opposite directions, a chariot, you're not going to go forward very far or very fast, right? Because the horses are working against each other. The black horse usually signifies the ego, or our ego thoughts and perceptions. The white horse indicates our higher self, or higher thoughts or perceptions, or information coming, from the cosmos, etc. And if we just align the two, if we align our higher self with our ego self, the black horse with the white horse, then we're able to have both of the horses pointing in the same direction, and movement then happens. We're able to move forward. The chariot moves forward as that happens. Now, this one, in the Sirian StarSeed Tarot, we have 2 horses pulling to the right, 2 horses pulling to the left, or maybe I have that backwards here as I'm looking in the video, but we have a 5th horse, one horse who's the 5th horse in the center looking straight ahead. So to me, this means that we're not totally stalled or at a standstill, and that is about that Mars retrograde happening. Mars retrograde can slow things down and feel like it's stalling something, but Mars still has been in Aries, its home sign. So it might have slowed things down, but I don't think it completely stalled things in our life. And that's that middle horse, still able to kind of pull and move forward, even though he's got 2 horses on either side pulling in different directions. So he's still not able to move very far or very fast forward. But that fact that we have 5 horses here and one is pulling forward is a good thing. Now all we have to do is pull these other 4 horses in alignment with the middle horse, so that they're all moving forward. And the great thing about that is that Mars is turning back to direct motion on the 13th of November. And yes, it's going to take a little bit of time, not too long, but a little bit of time to speed up and start moving forward at its regular pace. That's these 4 horses coming together. And more than 2 horses in the traditional chariot pulling the chariot forward, we're now going to have 5 horses pulling this chariot forward. Once Mars starts speeding up, especially as we get into December, it starts speeding up in Aries, his home sign. These 4 horses are going to be in alignment to move forward in the same direction here in this chariot card. We're really going to see some fast movement, either within our lives on a personal level and or within the collective on a collective level. Okay, so let's see what your special message card is, depending on your stone of choice. Okay, so I'm going to give this a little shuffle. I'm going to ask for the rose quartz people that chose the rose quartz as their special stone of choice, special message card just for the rose quartz. Rose quartz, special message card. Okay, this one's calling my attention here. Oh, I love it. The sun, enjoy success and happiness. Wow. And this reminds me of the sun moving into Sagittarius, a fire sign, because we start out the month of November with the sun in Scorpio. And Scorpio tends to rule kind of, again, the darkness and the shadow of things. Now, this to me, since it's the sun and has this big, bright, beautiful sun here, and it talks about success and happiness, which is partly a Sagittarius thing, I feel like once the sun moves into Sagittarius, which is on the 21st of November, you're going to start feeling a real shift in energy, a real lifting of the energy. And what is the sun about? The sun is about recognition, it's about success, it's about vitality and energy, creativity, movement in your career, just a lot of prosperity and abundance and blessings that are coming in with the sun here for you. So rose quartz people, that last week or a few days, 10 days of the month after the 21st and the sun shifts into Sagittarius, it's time to really expand into your light. Expand into your light, expand into your creativity, connect with what inspires you, and expand your view of the world. Expand yourself into, again, what you're passionate about, and expand into your success. Oh, I love it. And expand into happiness. Okay, for those of you that chose the Celestite people, this one here is calling my attention. Of course, this is a new deck, so they're all sticking together, but we're trying to pull this one out here. And this one is Sky Father, Trust in the Unknown. Trust in the unknown, Sky Father, love it. So we have an eagle here, and eagles are about higher vision, higher perception, right? They fly really high, and they're a visionary, a bird of vision. They have very keen eyesight, right? And look at this, the way this eagle is in this picture. He's got his talons or his claws out as if he's ready to grab at something, right? So you need to trust in the unknown and just grab for it. This is almost like taking a risk and grabbing for what it is that you desire in your life. And maybe you don't know exactly what it is that you need to grab for, but you know you need to grab for something. You know that something needs to change. You know that you need to have a higher perception or higher vision about your life and what's happening. And this eagle is very, to me, very masculine energy. This is like, take action, make it happen. I'm going to grab for it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to do it. And this, has the feeling again of Mars shifting directions. As Mars shifts in Aries, this is going to be when you're ready to grab at something. This is going to be when you're feeling much more confident and courageous and initiating and independent. And it's important to, I think, in the first part of November, to shift your perspective on things, or to meditate on what the higher vision of what's happening in your life is all about. Of course, the Sky Father, we have this masculine energy up here in the sky, which again to me indicates just authority, leadership, action. To me it's positive masculine energy, right? Sky Father, the protector, the one that guides us, watches over us, helps us initiate something. So I feel like with those two things together, the Sky Father and that eagle, it's especially the last 10 days, the last 9 or 10 days of the month after, well, actually before that, when Mars shifts on the 13th, so we're looking at the second half of November, this is when you're going to come into more of this confident, initiating, maybe risk-taking, I'm going to make it happen kind of energy for yourself. And know, again, that you're protected and guided by Sky Father. All right, and then for those of you that chose the Bloodstone special message. Bloodstone. Special message for Bloodstone. Okay, this one here is calling my attention. Okay, now they're switching to this one. Okay. Druid, hold the space. Okay, hold the space. So this is a magical kind of Celtic druid, right? He's got a staff. He's got some sort of animal skin or pelt on his staff. So he's very, very connected to the earth, very connected to nature. He's got a crystal on the top of his staff, which is a very magical kind of tool that he's using here. He's using it as a way to kind of guide himself on his path. He's using this as a way to magically create or manifest something for his life. But in this moment, he's just creating or holding space. This again has the feeling to me of the Scorpio energy before we get into the sun shifting into Sagittarius. Maybe we start to feel it as Mars shifts energies on the 13th, or shifts directions. But I feel like for the first part of the month, we're just waiting. We're just holding space. And we're waiting to see what's going to happen. And we're trusting in divine guidance and divine timing. We're trusting that we'll know the answers that we're seeking, because the druids are wise, right? They'll go into nature, they'll commune with the trees and the land, they'll use the elements for, ceremony, and they'll connect with their higher essence, if you will, and with the magical essence of the elements in nature to kind of divine, if you will, the answers that they're seeking. To me, this has almost a feeling like the Hermit, right? The Hermit card is about seeking the light within yourself and just kind of holding that space, being in the present moment, surrendering. This is kind of a non-action kind of energy. And I feel like this non-action druid, holding space, looking for the light within yourself kind of energy is more the first part of the month. I feel like it's going to lift a little bit at mid-month and then lift a little bit more as we move into the last week of November. So at least for the first 2 to 3 weeks, know that you're in this space of just being in the present moment, listening, hearing, being aware, and holding space. And you might be holding space for other people too. Maybe you're holding space for the collective energies. Maybe you're holding space for family or friends or partners. Maybe you're just holding space for yourself as you're moving through this time period and whatever's going on in this time period. So I hope everyone's liked this monthly intuitive reading. Thank you so much for watching, sharing, commenting, subscribing to my channel. Thank you for all of you that support me in what I do. I appreciate your kind thoughts and comments and your supportive intentions and energy with my relocation and transition from Oregon to Florida. So thank you all so much. I send you lots of love and light and many, many angel blessings.